acting in an Amazon movie with Lily Collins and Brie Larson. That's right. She's playing herself in a various
absolute fortune. She's going to do what she thinks right for her and blow everybody else.
Meghan Markle is cooking with love, especially when it comes to meals for her husband, Prince Harry. The Duke of Sussex made a
It started with a whisper inside Amazon Studios, just a tiny rumor, but within hours, that rumor turned into a full-blown thunderstorm tearing through Hollywood. Jeff Bezos was done with the Sussexes, not reconsidering, not renegotiating, done. And when that news reached Meghan Markle in Montecito, sources say she absolutely broke down. We're talking tears, panic, the works. Because one of the last major pillars holding up her Hollywood comeback just collapsed in one brutal move. Now listen, this wasn't just another celebrity hiccup or some tabloid drama. This was the kind of decision that shifts an entire industry, sends executives scrambling, and shows just how fragile the Sussex brand's been this whole time. So what really went down behind those closed doors? Why did one of the world's richest men decide they weren't worth the investment anymore? And what happened when Meghan realized her Hollywood dream was slipping through her fingers?
Breaking today. Look out, Lauren Sanchez. Meghan Markle is coming for your man.
Stick around, because what you're about to hear is wild. Real quick, smash that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you is absolutely insane. All right, let's get into it. Let's rewind a bit, because this meltdown didn't just happen overnight. It was the result of weeks, maybe even months, of pressure building behind the scenes at Amazon. And here's the thing. Rumors were flying across studio backlots at lightning speed. Executives frustrated, producers completely confused, projects getting stalled left and right, meetings postponed indefinitely. Nobody could get a straight answer about timelines, and people couldn't pin down exactly what the final product was supposed to look like. Amazon insiders were whispering that the Sussexes' ideas were all over the place, totally inconsistent, and that production logistics became an absolute nightmare. Every single discussion felt like Meghan and Harry were trying to recreate that Oprah interview energy.
Jeff Bezos. But overnight, Radar Online has reported that she has now been caught on camera
Again and again and again. You know the one, where the sun was shining and everything felt perfect for them. Very lucky, they said. But here's what Amazon executives were seeing. Instead of fresh, focused content, they were getting the same emotional beats on repeat. Same talking points, same vibe, same attempt to capture that viral moment. And listen, that works once, maybe twice if you're really good. But you can't build an entire media empire on one interview's energy. Amazon wanted something new, something they could actually produce, schedule, and sell to their massive audience. What they were getting felt more like therapy sessions on camera. And every time production teams tried to move things forward, attempted to nail down specifics, the conversations would drift back to influence and impact and changing the world, which sounds great on paper, don't get me wrong. But streaming platforms don't run on good intentions. They run on content that people actually want to watch, that keeps them subscribed month after month.
Oh, buckle up. Let me tell you what really went down at Kris Jenner's birthday party. Jeff Bezos, yes, that Jeff, one of the...
Now, here's the real breaking point. Jeff Bezos, the man who literally built Amazon from nothing into a global powerhouse, has zero patience for chaos. He didn't become one of the richest people on earth by letting projects drift without direction or by giving endless second chances to partnerships that weren't working. And apparently, that's exactly how insiders were describing the Sussex partnership, especially after the whole Kardashian situation blew up. Get this, there was this moment at a birthday celebration, someone's 70th, and instead of just attending like normal guests, the focus somehow shifted. It became a whole thing, the kind of thing that makes headlines for all the wrong reasons. And Amazon executives watching from the sidelines, they weren't impressed. They were taking notes, making mental calculations about whether this partnership was worth the constant drama. Because when you're trying to build a professional partnership with a major streaming platform,
Of course, there is no shortage of news. So let's get to this new reporting from Rob Shooter, who, right?
You can't make every single event about yourself. That's not how the industry works. That's not how billion-dollar businesses operate. One source didn't hold back either, putting it as bluntly as possible. Amazon doesn't babysit celebrities. You deliver or you're replaced. 6 words. That's all it took. And those 6 words, that was Meghan Markle's absolute worst nightmare come to life. Because Amazon wasn't interested in hand-holding. They had no patience for managing egos or emotions, and they definitely didn't want projects that felt more like personal PR campaigns than actual content. They wanted deliverables, timelines, something concrete they could market and stream to millions of subscribers. What they were getting instead felt scattered, unfocused, and way too dependent on one specific narrative that audiences were already getting tired of. The executives saw it in every meeting. The producers sensed it every time they tried to move forward.
Oh, buckle up, because this story doesn't walk, it struts. Word from the Hollywood streets says Meghan Markle has been...
And worst of all, Bezos knew it. And when Jeff Bezos gets that feeling about a project, when he senses that a partnership is becoming more trouble than it's worth, it's not a matter of if it gets cut. It's a matter of when. The countdown had already started, and nobody in Montecito seemed to realize it yet. Here's where things get really interesting, because Meghan could smell trouble way before anyone actually said anything out loud. You know that feeling when something's off, but nobody's directly telling you? That's exactly what was happening. And according to sources close to the situation, she noticed the shift almost immediately. Meetings that used to run for an hour, hour and a half suddenly got cut down to 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and sometimes just a quick 15-minute check-in that felt more like a formality than an actual strategy session. The energy in those rooms changed too. Amazon executives who used to lean forward, engaged and excited.
Oh, buckle up. Let me tell you what really went down at Kris Jenner's birthday party. Jeff Bezos, yes, that Jeff, one of the...
Were now sitting back, checking their phones, looking at their watches. That's never a good sign in Hollywood. Never. Phone calls started taking forever to get returned. Like, we're talking days instead of hours. Meghan would reach out to her main contacts at Amazon, the people who were supposed to be championing her projects, and suddenly, those same people were busy, tied up in other meetings, unavailable until next week. Then next week would come and go, and still nothing. Radio silence. And when calls finally did get returned, they were brief, surface level, lacking that enthusiasm that used to be there. Gone were the hour-long brainstorming sessions. Vanished was that we're so excited about this direction energy. Just quick updates and vague promises to reconnect soon. But here's what really told the story. Executive emails went from, we absolutely love this concept, to,
almost the same thing from Woodard's for half the price. Yes. So this is what she says. So she says for this.
Let's circle back next quarter and revisit where we are. And if you know anything about Hollywood speak, that phrase, circle back next quarter, is basically the corporate version of ghosting someone. It means we're not saying no directly, but we're definitely not saying yes either. We're putting this on ice and hoping you get the hint. Meghan got the hint. She'd been in the entertainment industry long enough to know what that language actually meant. It meant her projects were being deprioritized, shelved, pushed to the back burner while Amazon focused on other things, other people, different content that felt like a safer bet. And then came the real punch to the gut. Amazon started greenlighting a bunch of new shows with proven creators instead. Big names, established producers, people who'd already delivered hits for other platforms.
Are done with Meghan. Is this true?
Absolutely. They're really annoyed about it. This goes back to that big birthday party. It was
Projects that had clear visions, solid production teams, and most importantly, track records that Amazon could trust. The announcements came one after another. New documentary series with an Oscar-winning filmmaker, comedy specials with A-list talent, drama projects with showrunners who'd created some of the biggest streaming hits of the past few years. Each announcement felt like another door closing, another opportunity slipping away. And here's the thing that made it sting even worse. These weren't just random projects getting greenlit. They were being announced strategically, timed perfectly to send a very specific message to the entire industry. Amazon was pivoting. They were moving away from celebrity-driven content that felt risky and unproven and towards safe, reliable, bankable creators who knew how to deliver. Message received loud and clear.
To leave her bestie Ted Sarandos for Jeff Bezos. Goodness, poor Ted.
The Sussexes weren't just losing Amazon's interest. They were watching in real time as Amazon publicly declared where their priorities actually were, and the Sussexes weren't anywhere on that list. So, when the news finally dropped, when it became crystal clear that Amazon was stepping back, sources say Meghan was absolutely devastated. And we're not talking about just being upset or frustrated. We're talking full emotional breakdown. According to insiders who were close to the situation, she completely shut down for hours. Just locked herself away in one of the rooms at the Montecito mansion, trying to process what had just happened. The woman who'd spent years building her public image as strong, independent, and unstoppable was now dealing with a reality she never saw coming. Her Hollywood comeback, the one she'd been planning and pitching and fighting for, was crumbling right in front of her eyes.
She's terrible. I mean, I expect she was giving him the eye, most richest man in the country. And, once...
People close to the couple described the atmosphere inside that house as completely transformed. Like someone had flipped a switch and everything went dark. The usual energy, the constant activity, the phones ringing, assistants moving around, all of that just stopped. Instead, there was this heavy silence hanging over everything. Meghan was angry, absolutely furious that another major opportunity had slipped through her fingers. But more than that, she was overwhelmed, crushed by the realization that maybe, just maybe, Hollywood wasn't going to welcome her back the way she'd imagined. And underneath all of that anger and frustration was something even worse. Terror. Pure, genuine terror about what this meant for her future, her brand, and everything she'd been working toward since leaving royal life behind.
Which has featured in her new Netflix promotion. It's a 1,695...
Harry, meanwhile, was having his own meltdown in a completely different way. Sources say he was pacing around the house, going from room to room, trying to make sense of what had just happened. He looked confused, like he couldn't quite understand why another massive door had just slammed shut in their faces. And underneath that confusion was this quiet fury building. Not the loud, explosive kind, but the internal kind that eats away at you. Because this wasn't the first time a major company had backed away from them. This was becoming a pattern, and Harry could see it even if he didn't want to admit it out loud. Think about it from their perspective for a second. Netflix had already gone from red-hot excited to lukewarm at best. The initial buzz around their deal had faded, replaced by questions about whether they could actually deliver content that audiences wanted to watch.
You about the celebrity angle of Meghan Markle and what she's been up to this past week. Now, your latest reporting.
Then Spotify, the platform that was supposed to launch Meghan's podcasting empire, had already cut ties completely. That relationship ended quietly, without much fanfare. But it was over. And now Amazon, the company that was supposed to be their lifeline, their proof that they still had value in the entertainment world, was pulling back too. This was supposed to be the big comeback moment. The shiny, blockbuster partnership that would prove to everyone, all the critics and doubters and online trolls, that the Sussexes belonged at the top of Hollywood's power structure. The deal that would silence all the noise and validate every decision they'd made since stepping away from royal duties. Instead, that dream just got absolutely crushed. Not gradually, not with a soft landing, but brutally and publicly. And sitting in that mansion in Montecito,
In her glam squad, who she insufferably calls the trifecta. And you guys loved it. And I'm so happy because,
Watching their carefully constructed plans fall apart, both Meghan and Harry had to face a truth they'd been avoiding for months. The entertainment industry they thought would embrace them with open arms was now treating them like a risk nobody wanted to take. The second this news leaked, and I mean the absolute moment it hit the industry grapevine, the entire entertainment world basically froze. Studio assistants stopped mid-email, fingers hovering over keyboards, staring at their screens in disbelief. PR teams across Los Angeles went into full scramble mode, trying to figure out what this meant for their own clients, their own deals, their own relationships with Amazon. Agents were grabbing their phones, texting each other frantically, whispering the same thing over and over. Oh my God, it's happening. They're actually collapsing. Because in Hollywood, when a major player like Amazon steps back from a high-profile partnership, it doesn't just affect the people directly involved.
Absolute disaster.
Indeed, they are. But I think it is correct to point out, isn't it, Brittany, that
it sends ripples through the entire system. Everyone starts wondering who's next, what other deals might be in trouble, and most importantly, whether they should distance themselves before things get worse. Social media absolutely exploded within minutes. Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it now, lit up like wildfire. TikTok creators started pumping out reaction videos faster than anyone could keep up with. Instagram comment sections turned into absolute war zones, with people arguing, debating, celebrating, and mourning all at the same time. Some people were defending Meghan fiercely, writing long posts about how the entertainment industry is toxic and unfair and always tears down strong women. Others were roasting her without mercy, pulling up old interviews, past statements, using them as ammunition.
Are hung up in little racks, and the handbags are all displayed on these picnic table style,
And then there was this third group, the Hollywood watchers, the people who'd been following this story from the beginning, and they were all saying the same thing. We saw this coming. We knew it was only a matter of time. Comment sections everywhere became battlegrounds. Fans were posting heart emojis and supportive messages, trying to rally behind the Sussexes. Critics posted laugh-crying emojis and sarcastic comments about failed Hollywood dreams. Industry insiders chimed in with anonymous takes about what really happens behind closed doors when celebrity deals go bad. It was chaos in its purest form, the kind of internet meltdown that makes headlines for days and gets talked about in every entertainment podcast and YouTube channel. Every angle was getting dissected, past interviews were being re-examined, and PR moves from the past few years were under scrutiny.
Announcing this as Prince William lands in Rio, they used the excuse.
People were pulling receipts, sharing screenshots, creating timelines, building entire conspiracy theories about what went wrong and when. But here's what really got people talking. The real bombshell didn't come from official statements or press releases. It came from an anonymous Amazon producer who apparently couldn't keep quiet anymore. According to this leak, and it spread like crazy across industry message boards and private Hollywood group chats, the final pitch meeting between Meghan and Amazon executives went completely off the rails, like spectacularly bad. The producer claimed that Meghan walked into that meeting feeling confident, maybe even a little triumphant, ready to present what she genuinely believed was a visionary concept that would redefine celebrity documentary series. Forever, she had the pitch deck, the talking points, and the energy.
Was because the pictures of the pair inside of the event were just so horrendous, and there was more evidence of that over the weekend.
But here's what the executives were seeing on their end. A concept that felt unfocused, scattered all over the place, and way more like a glossy PR move than actual storytelling. One insider, speaking anonymously, of course, because nobody wants to burn bridges publicly in Hollywood, described it like this. It felt like they wanted another Oprah moment, but Amazon doesn't do emotional therapy sessions on camera. We do content that people actually want to binge watch. That quote, that single sentence, spread through the industry faster than any official statement could have, because it captured exactly what so many people had been thinking, but nobody wanted to say out loud. The Sussex brand had become synonymous with one specific type of content, one specific narrative, and audiences were getting tired of it.
She's terrible. I mean, I expect she was giving him the eye, most richest man in the country. And,
Hollywood insiders even had a phrase for what was happening. And it's the phrase that nobody in entertainment ever wants to hear applied to them: brand fatigue. Translation: people have heard the story, they've seen the interviews, read the headlines, and formed their opinions, and now they're ready to move on. They don't want another version of the same narrative. They want something fresh, something different, something that doesn't feel like it's retreading the same emotional territory over and over again. Brand fatigue is the kiss of death in Hollywood, because once audiences are tired of your story, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at production or how many platforms you pitch to, nobody wants to invest in something that feels played out. Now let's talk about what actually went down in that room, because this is where everything fell apart. Get this, the anonymous Amazon producer who leaked the details painted a pretty clear picture of how that final meeting played out.
Free to give their first big interview post-Megxit. People all over town are wondering why they didn't come to Netflix. Of course, Netflix will never.
And honestly, it's kind of painful to hear about, even secondhand. According to the leak that spread through industry circles like wildfire, Meghan walked into Amazon's offices that day feeling confident. More than confident, actually. She was reportedly in full power mode, dressed impeccably, carrying herself with that signature style she's known for. She genuinely believed she was about to present a game-changing concept, something that would completely redefine what celebrity documentary series could be. This was her moment to prove that the Sussex brand still had serious value, that they could deliver content that would dominate streaming charts and cultural conversations. She came prepared too. The pitch deck was polished, the visual presentation was slick, and the talking points were rehearsed. Everything looked good on the surface. But here's where things started going sideways.
Honestly, tell me that doesn't sound just a little bit Meghan coded. Just a little bit. Because Meghan does the same.
The Amazon executives sitting across from her, these are people who sit through dozens of pitches every single month. They weren't getting the same picture Meghan was painting. While she was describing a visionary project that would inspire millions and create cultural impact, they saw something completely different. A concept that felt scattered, jumping from one idea to another without a clear through line. More like an elaborate PR campaign than actual storytelling with a beginning, middle, and end. The kind of content that might generate headlines for a week, but wouldn't keep subscribers coming back month after month. And then came the moment that basically sealed the deal. One of the executives, probably getting a little frustrated with how the pitch was going, finally asked the question that every creator dreads hearing. Meghan, what makes this project stand out from the dozens of others we've been pitched this month? It's a fair question, right?
Of delusion went for the Amazon boss, Jeff Bezos. And of course, it's for professional reasons.
Amazon's got limited resources, limited budget slots, and they need to know why they should bet on your project instead of someone else's. But instead of giving them a concrete answer about unique storytelling angles or specific audience demographics, or how this would perform in their algorithm, Meghan launched into her signature style of response. She started talking about global influence, cultural change, inspirational visibility, and making a difference in people's lives. Now listen, those are beautiful concepts. Nobody's saying they're not important. But here's the brutal truth that Meghan apparently didn't realize in that moment. Nobody in that conference room cared about inspirational visibility. Not because they're heartless or because they don't value positive impact. They don't care because that's not how streaming platforms make decisions.
And then we come to this specific outfit, which has featured in her new Netflix.
They care about numbers that they can track and analyze, deliverables with clear timelines and production schedules, return on investment, whether a project will bring in new subscribers or keep existing ones from canceling, deadlines that can actually be met, and budgets that won't spiral out of control. And nothing Meghan was saying addressed any of those concerns. The room got uncomfortable fast. You could probably feel the energy shift, that awkward tension when everyone realizes a meeting isn't going the way anyone hoped. Executives started glancing at each other, doing that thing where you're trying to communicate without actually speaking. Some probably checked their watches, mentally calculating how much longer they needed to sit through this before they could politely wrap things up. The questions got shorter, the responses got more vague.
Oh, buckle up, because this story doesn't walk, it struts. Word from the Hollywood street says Meghan Markle has been turning her...
And everyone could sense that this partnership was dying right there in real time. The meeting ended early, like way earlier than it was scheduled to. No dramatic blow-up, no heated argument, just a polite, "We'll be in touch," that everyone in Hollywood knows means don't hold your breath. And here's the kicker. The producer who leaked all this mentioned something that really drives home how bad it was. They said one executive walked out muttering under their breath, "That was painful to sit through." Not angry or dismissive, just genuinely uncomfortable with how disconnected the pitch was from what Amazon actually needed. Then came the wait. Meghan probably left that building thinking maybe it went okay. Maybe they just needed time to think it over. But a week later, Bezos made his call, and it wasn't personal, at least not in the emotional sense. It was business. Cold, strategic, precise business.
Like an attention-seeking, money-grabbing, shallow, narcissistic pain in the arse.
The kind of decision that happens every day in Hollywood when someone decides a project isn't worth the investment. So here's where things got even more intense, because Bezos didn't release some big dramatic statement. He didn't call a press conference or issue a lengthy explanation about why Amazon was stepping back. He did something way more powerful than that. He went completely quiet. Zero statements, no clarifications, and absolutely no damage control whatsoever. Just absolute radio silence from one of the most powerful men in media and tech. And if you know anything about how Hollywood works, you know that silence from someone at that level speaks louder than any press release ever could. That silence was deafening. It hung over the entire situation like a dark cloud, and everyone in the industry could feel it.
Once accused of stealing after a photo shoot, and it comes as top
Because when billionaires go quiet after a high-profile partnership starts crumbling, it's never a good sign. It means they've already made their decision and moved on mentally, and they're not interested in explaining themselves to anyone. Bezos had built his entire empire on decisive action, not endless explanations. And his silence was the most decisive action he could take. It said everything without saying anything at all. The media immediately sensed blood in the water. Entertainment reporters who'd been covering the Sussex story for years suddenly went into overdrive. Paparazzi descended on Montecito like they'd been given exact GPS coordinates to the mansion. Helicopters circling overhead. Photographers camped out on nearby roads. Telephoto lenses pointed at every window, hoping to catch something.
Already crumbling Hollywood dreams. Just when you thought things could not get worse for Meghan and Harry, a new catastrophe has emerged, one that involves billionaire...
Anything that could become tomorrow's headline. The usually quiet neighborhood turned into a circus practically overnight. Meghan and Harry couldn't step outside without cameras tracking their every move. Couldn't drive anywhere without cars following them. Unable to have a single moment of privacy while Their professional lives were falling apart in the most public way possible. Social media went absolutely nuclear. Every entertainment news outlet was running variations of the same story. Every gossip channel on YouTube was pumping out reaction videos. Every celebrity podcast was dedicating entire episodes to what this meant for the Sussex brand. The speculation was endless and relentless. Is Amazon really done with them? Did Bezos personally make this call? What went wrong behind closed doors? Is their entire Hollywood strategy collapsing?
Paris Fashion Week wasn't ready for this level of billionaire drama. Rumor has it Lauren Sanchez Bezos was running a covert operation.
Comment sections were filling up faster than moderators could keep up with them, and the theories people were coming up with ranged from reasonable to completely wild. Meanwhile, Netflix executives were reportedly holding emergency strategy meetings, the kind where everyone shows up looking serious, laptops open, phones silenced, ready to figure out what this Amazon situation means for their own deal with the Sussexes. Because here's the thing about Hollywood: when one major platform publicly distances itself from someone, other platforms start getting nervous. They start asking themselves whether they're next, whether they should protect themselves, whether they need to rethink their own partnerships before things get messy. Nobody wants to be the last company holding the bag when a celebrity brand starts declining. It's better to cut losses early than to ride a sinking ship all the way down.
Is Meghan Markle about to Markle Netflix? Oh, we gotta talk.
And then, after days of speculation and mounting pressure and everyone waiting for someone to say something official, Bezos finally made his move. But it wasn't the detailed explanation people were hoping for. It wasn't a heartfelt statement about creative differences or mutual decisions to part ways. It was one single, cold, corporate line released through his spokesperson. We are reviewing our partnerships and adjusting future commitments accordingly. That's it. 20 words that sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. No names mentioned, 0 specific projects referenced, and no details about what adjusting future commitments actually meant in concrete terms. Just enough information to let everyone know that something had fundamentally changed, but vague enough that Amazon maintained plausible deniability about the specifics.
Furious, and not the kind of frustration you brush off after a bad day. We're talking full-on, pacing around the house.
In Hollywood language, a statement like that means one thing and one thing only. Something changed permanently. Doors that were open yesterday closed today. Relationships that seemed solid last month over. Opportunities that looked promising last quarter evaporated completely. The Sussexes weren't just losing Amazon's support. They were watching as one of the most powerful companies in entertainment publicly signaled to the entire industry that the partnership wasn't worth continuing. And every executive, every producer, every decision maker in Hollywood was paying attention. Now, here's where the story takes an even darker turn, because Meghan wasn't about to just sit back and let this narrative steamroll over her without a fight. That's not her style, never has been. According to sources close to the situation, she went into full battle mode almost immediately.
The gossip mill is spinning faster than ever, and Meghan Markle is right at the center of it again. This time, the rumor mill has a story.
The tears dried up, the shock wore off, and what replaced it was this fierce determination to take control of the story before it completely got away from her. She started mapping out an entire comeback blueprint, the kind of strategic plan that would make a military general proud. Emails drafted to every contact she had in the entertainment industry. Phone calls scheduled with potential collaborators, meetings being set up with anyone who might be interested in working together. She was reaching out to influencer networks, social media personalities, anyone with a platform who could help shift the public perception. The plan on paper looked solid: reach out to everyone, secure new partnerships, announce fresh projects, Show the world that one setback with Amazon doesn't define the Sussex brand. Prove that they're still relevant, valuable, and worth investing in.
Of love, luxury, and legacy. A-list stars flew in from across the globe. It wasn't just a party.
Get back on top before the negative narratives could really take root. It was aggressive, ambitious, and exactly the kind of move you'd expect from someone who'd spent years navigating both royal protocol and Hollywood politics. She had the strategy, the energy, and the determination. What she didn't have, as it turns out, was anyone willing to pick up the phone. Because here's where it gets really wild. The phone stopped ringing, and I'm not talking about a gradual decline or a slow fade. I'm talking about an immediate, dramatic drop-off that had to have been absolutely terrifying to experience. Friends who used to call regularly, people who'd been in her inner circle for years, suddenly went completely ghost. Text messages left unread, voicemails unreturned. It was like watching people slowly back away from a car crash, careful not to make eye contact, trying to distance themselves before they got pulled into the mess.
Netflix insiders have claimed Meghan's making her return to acting in the upcoming Amazon MGM studio film Close Personal Friends while having a
Publicists who'd previously been eager to work with the Sussexes, who'd pitched themselves as the perfect team to manage their brand, mysteriously became unavailable. We're at capacity right now. Our roster is full for the foreseeable future. Let us get back to you in a few months. All the polite Hollywood ways of saying we're not interested anymore. And these weren't small-time PR people either. These were established professionals who'd built careers on managing high-profile clients through scandals and controversies. But apparently, whatever was happening with the Sussex brand felt like too much risk, too much uncertainty, not enough potential upside. Even the most opportunistic personalities in Hollywood, the people who usually jump at any chance to attach themselves to a famous name, started becoming mysteriously unavailable.
On Meghan's camera anxiety. And here's the deeper sting. This wasn't about vanity. It was about power. Meghan built her...
The social climbers who'd been angling for invitations to Montecito, the influencers who'd been tagging Meghan in posts hoping for attention, the wannabe collaborators who'd been sliding into DMs with project ideas, all of them just evaporated. Radio silence across the board. And that's when you know things are really bad in Hollywood. When even the desperate, hungry, willing to do anything crowd backs away, that's a sign that your brand has become toxic. That associating with you is seen as career damage rather than career opportunity. And the entire industry, from A-list celebrities to C-list hangers-on, backed away slowly like they didn't want to get caught in whatever blast zone was forming around the Sussex name. Nobody wanted to be photographed with them, be quoted defending them, or have their own brands associated with what was increasingly looking like a Hollywood cautionary tale.
I mean, you'd need more than lots and lots and lots of fingers.
And the
wouldn't you?
Kardashians being the latest. And of
Yes.
course, because of this wooing...
It was isolation on a scale that had to be crushing. Going from being courted by major platforms and influential people to suddenly being avoided like a scandal waiting to happen. Harry, watching all of this unfold, tried his best to keep Meghan's spirits up. He reportedly kept telling her it was just a temporary setback. Hollywood is fickle, people have short memories, and they'd bounce back once the dust settled. He was trying to be supportive and the optimistic voice when everything felt like it was crumbling. But even Harry had to know, deep down, that when billionaires pull their support, the shockwaves don't just disappear overnight. They ripple outward, affecting relationships, opportunities, and potential partnerships. And those ripples were turning into waves that were drowning.
The whispers started quietly, but now they are impossible to ignore. Amazon executives are reportedly distancing themselves from Meghan Markle.
Any chance of a quick recovery. So let's bring this full circle because the ending of this story is almost poetic in how brutal it is. Picture Meghan sitting in that Montecito mansion, probably in her home office or maybe in one of those perfectly decorated living spaces she's shared on social media before. She opens her laptop, probably expecting to see some positive momentum building from her team's efforts, hoping that the comeback narrative she'd been crafting was starting to take hold online. Perhaps she thought the tide was turning, that people were starting to see her side of things, that the Sussex brand was stabilizing after days of chaos. Instead, what she sees is one headline absolutely dominating every single feed. It's everywhere. Twitter trending topics, Instagram explore pages, YouTube recommendations, entertainment news sites, gossip blogs, celebrity commentary channels.
No wonder Bezos and Sanchez didn't invite Meghan to the wedding. She's been completely shut out of the celebrity circle. The most anticipated wedding.
The same headline repeated over and over with slight variations, but always carrying that devastating message. Bezos cuts royal ties. Sussex future uncertain. Not speculation anymore, not rumors or anonymous sources. This was being reported as fact, as the new reality that everyone in Hollywood was already accepting and moving on from. And that's when everything crashed down. Not with a dramatic breakdown or an angry outburst, but with something quieter and somehow more painful. Just silence, stillness. That moment when you realize that no amount of planning or strategizing or fighting is going to change what's already happened. The woman who'd spent years building a brand, crafting a public image, fighting for relevance in an industry that chews people up and spits them out, was facing a truth she'd been trying to avoid.
Meghan Markle is cooking with love, especially when it comes to meals for her husband, Prince Harry. The Duke of Sussex made a
The Hollywood power structure she thought she'd figured out, the system she believed she could master with the right connections and the right projects and the right narrative, had just turned the page without her. This wasn't a temporary setback that time would fix. This was the industry making a choice, and that choice didn't include the Sussexes. All those meetings, pitches, and carefully crafted proposals with strategic partnerships, none of it had been enough. The comeback she'd been planning since leaving royal life, the Hollywood empire she'd been trying to build, it was slipping through her fingers in real time. And sitting there staring at those headlines, Meghan had to confront the biggest question of her entire career. The question that probably keeps her up at night, that haunts every conversation about next steps and future plans.
Paris Fashion Week wasn't ready for this level of billionaire drama. Rumor has it Lauren Sanchez Bezos was running a covert operation.
What happens when even the billionaires walk away? When the most powerful people in entertainment decide you're not worth the investment anymore? The platforms that used to compete for your attention now compete to distance themselves. The phone stops ringing, opportunities dry up, and the industry collectively decides to move on. That's not just a career crisis. It's an existential moment where you have to figure out who you are and what you're worth when all the external validation disappears. And for someone who'd built so much of their identity around being influential, being relevant, being a force in entertainment and media, that question hits different. It cuts deeper than any headline or any failed deal ever could. The Sussexes walked away from royal life believing Hollywood would embrace them with open arms. Instead, they're learning the hardest lesson the entertainment industry teaches. Fame is fleeting, influence is temporary. And when the powerful decide you're done, you're done. So that's where we are. Meghan's Hollywood comeback hit a wall named Jeff Bezos. What's next for the Sussexes? Honestly, nobody knows. Drop a comment with your thoughts. And if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe, because Hollywood drama never stops. I'll catch you in the next one.